Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to the Daily Roleplay. My last episode was quite the long one. I got into some feedback from it, and I'm deciding I'm going to try to shoot for between 15 and 20 minutes for these episodes. Now, a few people have told me that they enjoyed the last episode, but it was a little just kind of running on. So I'm going to do the time a bit shorter, and I'm also going to try to not be as long-winded, I suppose. So, what am I doing today? This is the basics of role playing in general and text based because there are some things that apply just to text based for writing and stuff like that. So, I'm going to begin with the idea of, well, there's basic what is role play? Role play is portraying yourself as someone that isn't you or something that isn't you. You don't even have to give it human qualities. You can just be a rock and you RP out the rock's life tumbling down a hill. That's technically role playing. But there are some things that actually go into role playing. There's kind of some general terms and stuff that you want to know about. Well, there's obviously the character, but with the character comes character development. With character development, you have the experiences of the character over time changes them. Anything like a family member being killed or a romance that buds during the lifetime with someone else, or even just kind of learning a profession like becoming a blacksmith and they kind of love it and dedicate their life to it. That's character development. Your character growing. It's an important factor because if you stifle it too much, you'll kind of get to the point where other characters will have advanced, but your character hasn't, and it can get a little rough to role play with other people. Forgot a word in there. So the point is, you can sometimes, if you and other role players like where you guys are in RP, and you want to just sit there for a bit and kind of just enjoy the setting that you've kind of created, go ahead and do that for a little bit, but you want to eventually start letting your character grow a bit more too. I've been stuck in a situation where I didn't let my character grow anymore, and eventually didn't really get to be all that enjoyable, even though I liked where they were at. I liked the interactions I was having with specific characters. They kind of just got boring. Now, you don't want to forget that they're still your character, even as you change them. And it's okay, because you change during life, and change is a bit scary sometimes, but you gotta let it happen now and then for your character. Now, along with character development comes the idea of plot and story. With story and plot, it's pretty much the same idea, though you can call it two different things. Uh, Even though plot is a part of a story, a lot of people in roleplay kind of use the terms interchangeably. So I'll kind of do that here. With a story or plot, that's the evolution of an RP. As you roleplay your character, or as other people roleplay with you, say you're in a specific setting, like say you're in a post-apocalyptic world where the world had a nuclear war and it's all just a big wasteland, and the survivors are kind of struggling to get together, and they're trying to kind of outcompete. Blech. My English is horrible this morning. Outcompete each other for resources. That's the plot of the role play there. You're in a post-apocalyptic wasteland, and the overall story of the role playing is you're part of one group and you're competing with other groups for role play. Now, that's kind of where there's a general role play plot, kind of the story or plot arc for the role play itself, and then there's personal ones for your character. Say you decided in your character creation that they may have owed someone a lot of money. Well, if you roleplay that NPC, that character of the past that they wanted to, like that loan shark, sending goons in to come out and try to rough up your character to get the money back, that's considered your character's plot, part of their character plot. It's kind of their personal story as they evolve, and other people add to your plot. Say someone has a situation where their character is kind of maybe in the high court of a king, and they take a liking to your character, and eventually they get married. Well, you may have been a commoner, so you have been elevated from commoner to High King, or, well, part of the High King's court. In that sense, you may now have the money to pay off your character's debt to that loan shark. So in that way, that's an example of how people can influence your personal plot with their own. All this kind of ties together into forming a whole bunch of different plot arcs, which are basic. A plot arc is basically just the entire plot as it unfolds. So for that situation, it would be your character took out a loan from Loan Shark. They couldn't pay it back, and over time, people started coming after them to get the money back. Your character ended up marrying into nobility, so now he or she has the money to pay back the Loan Shark, and now your plot arc is done. That's the entire story of that plot. That's what a plot arc is. Now, another basic part of role-playing is the concept of in-character and out-of-character. That's where, in character, you're role-playing your character. When you're acting on the personality of that character, you're taking on their traits and you're being them for the time being. Out-of-character is quite simply when you're not role-playing your character. That's the time when you might just be discussing things about the RP, talking to people and being like, hey, this is a cool idea to include, or hey, I'm going to change my character this way, or just kind of chatting to people before your roleplay or after. Now, there's a very key thing here to keep in mind. In character and out of character are not the same thing. You should keep them separate. It might seem like common sense to some people, but there does get situations where you can get a bit wrapped up in roleplay, and you just kind of either get lost in it or you get emotionally attached to the other characters you're role-playing with, and those feelings might accidentally spill over onto the other players themselves out of character. It might seem a little silly, but it can happen when you get engrossed in an RP. So you always want to be aware that what's happening in your roleplay is not how things are going out of the roleplay. And if you're mad at someone, or they're being a troll, or insulting you out of the character, don't just go into your roleplay and have your character all of a sudden hate their characters. No, that's just bad form, and it kind of ruins the roleplay in the way that you're introducing a hatred into your character that just all of a sudden it wasn't there before. So why are they all of a sudden mad now? That kind of stuff. I'm going to cover this in the next video, kind of a short one, but it can cause a bit of drama between role-playing groups, and it's something that you really want to avoid. Now, onto text-based roleplay. There's a couple things here that are just some things you want to take into consideration that kind of are basics and helps other people stay invested in the story and your character. When it comes to text-based roleplay, you are writing out your character's actions. You are not talking about them and using your voice. You're having to detail them out in a paragraph or multiple paragraphs. So there's a couple basics you can keep in mind that will improve your roleplay and are just good polite form to do. So the first is obviously grammar and spelling. Now, with most people, you don't have to be a perfect speller. You don't have to have perfect grammar for them to enjoy it. But there's a couple things that can just nag out a lot of people. Uh, if you have trouble with English or whatever you're writing in, uh, don't feel too bad because everyone's been there. Everyone had to learn their language growing up anyway. But you want to have the basics of your language down. For English, since that's my native language, that's what I'm experienced with, I'll have to do that. You want to have it where before you finish sending your post, which is the paragraphs you've written about what your character's doing to someone else or to the role play, whether it be on Fricadia or over a message board and stuff like that, you want to go through and there's just a couple basics that you want to do. Just make sure that you've at least capitalized the first letter of every sentence and that you have added a period at the end of sentences. It's just because when you've not done that and things kind of run on, it gets a little hard to understand a post. If you don't capitalize your letters and put periods, it's rather hard to figure out where one thought ends and one doesn't. So that's something that you really should, basically, before you send a post, just pause after you've typed it all out. Don't hit enter or anything. Just look at it for bits. Just skim over it. Take a couple seconds to skim over it and try to remember to capitalize the beginning of each sentence, the first letter, and put a period where you think a sentence is at, basically at the end of a thought. Like, say, for an example, here's a post. Rose was climbing through the woods. She ended up falling out of a tree and making a fool out of herself. She's a druid, so she should be natural at these kind of things, but she's having a bit of an off day. Obviously, I would put, like, say at the end of that post, a period after the word day. She was having an off day. I would capitalize the S and put a period at the end of day. That's what I mean in terms of just making sure that your thoughts are kind of separated and people can actually read your post rather plainly. When it comes to just kind of general grammar and spelling, an easy thing to do is make your post, your paragraphs, write them up in like Microsoft Word or any other kind of Word document program first. It has a spelling and grammar check all on its own, and it's quite easy just to use that, and that'll serve you pretty well. When you're also text-based role-playing, you have to understand that what you write is what other characters will see and the other people will see. So, when it comes to describing the character's actions, just keep in mind a couple basic things. One, you don't need to go on explicative super detail and, well, describing things. A few very choice words. Just think about your words carefully, your descriptive words, and they can have more impact than 3 or 4 lines of describing an apple. Also, when it comes to describing what your character's doing, just make sure, first and foremost, it's clear what they're doing. A good idea for here is to write out a very basic post, like Rose climbed the tree. She fell out of the tree. She felt embarrassed, for example. That's the basic post. Then go through and start livening it up a bit, adding more detail. Rose tried rather hard and quite easily climbed the tree. However, she was feeling rather dizzy today, so she ended up falling out of the tree. And being a druid, she's supposed to be kind of good at this kind of thing, and she kind of made a fool of herself in front of all her friends. There you go. It can be good to write out, if you have the patience for it, write out a very basic form of your post, and then describe it better.
Those are some just general tips for text-based role-playing and general role-play that I wanted to go over for those just kind of starting out. This is probably a bit of a short video, but I'm making a few more. I might put out one or two more today, so I hope it was kind of very helpful for those starting out to get an idea of what kind of goes into role-playing a bit more, and also for those that are a bit more experienced but want to get back down to the basics. Maybe I shouldn't do things at 9 o'clock in the morning. Oh, jeez. Anyway, I hope it was helpful for everyone, and I hope that you are enjoying this series. And I really hope to do more out of it. I'm looking to make this a living for myself. Role-playing is something I'm really passionate about again, and I really want to do this for people and have it be my full-time job. So, I hope to see you again in many more daily role plays, and this is Garth. Have a nice day. Booyah!